Welcome to US Soccer Plus, your ultimate destination for everything US soccer. In today's video, we're diving into one of the most shocking moments in American soccer history. The FIFA World Cup is the pinnacle of global sports, where dreams are realized and legacies are made. For decades, the United States men's national team was a fixture in the tournament, even reaching the quarterfinals in 2002. But in 2017, that streak came to a shocking end. How did one of the world's wealthiest nations in sports fail to qualify for the 2018 World Cup? Let's find out. The US men's national team had qualified for every World Cup since 1990. A 28-year run that included historic moments like Landon Donovan's iconic goal against Algeria in 2010. But beneath these successes, there were cracks forming in the foundation. As the world of soccer grew more competitive, other nations in the CONCACAF region began to close the gap. Mexico, Costa Rica, and Panama started improving at an alarming rate, and the US wasn't immune to these changes. With the 2018 World Cup qualifiers on the horizon, expectations were high. But the road ahead would prove more difficult than anyone anticipated. By the time the qualifiers rolled around, many in US soccer had begun to recognize that the game had evolved. The US wasn't just fighting Mexico anymore. They were fighting a world of football that was changing fast. The late American sports journalist Grant Wahl on USMNT's disqualification.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, there's no need to sugarcoat this. It's hard to imagine a worse night in soccer terms for the U.S. I can't think of another more embarrassing night in the history of U.S. soccer. This was a U.S. team that only needed to win or tie against the last place Trinidad team, which had lost 6 straight hexagonal games, and the U.S. would have qualified for the World Cup.
The reality is that the U.S. was no longer the dominant force it once was in the CONCACAF region. Teams like Costa Rica and later Panama began to catch up, and there were many factors at play: talent development, coaching, and how the U.S. was preparing its players. Before Bruce Arena was called upon to take charge of the U.S. men's national team in 2017, the team had undergone a significant shakeup in 2016 with the firing of head coach Jürgen Klinsmann. The German coach had been at the helm of the U.S. squad since 2011 and led the team to a respectable performance at the 2014 World Cup. But his time with the team became increasingly contentious. Klinsmann's tenure started off promisingly, with a strong showing in the 2014 World Cup, where the U.S. advanced to the knockout stage. But as the 2018 World Cup cycle began, questions started to arise about his leadership and his ability to connect with the squad. In 2016, after a disastrous run in the Copa America Centenario and several disappointing results, the U.S. Soccer Federation made the difficult decision to part ways with Klinsmann. Under Klinsmann, the U.S. struggled to find consistency during the crucial qualifiers round of the World Cup 2018. The hexagonal, or hex, is the final round of CONCACAF World Cup qualifying. The top 3 teams earn a direct ticket to the World Cup, while the 4th-place team gets a playoff spot. But the U.S. didn't make it easy on themselves. From the outset, they faced problems. The team lost crucial points at home, something that hadn't happened in years. The 2-1 loss to Mexico in Columbus was a setback, but the real disaster was the 4-0 loss to Costa Rica. With the team struggling, U.S. soccer turned to Bruce Arena, a familiar face. Arena had led the U.S. to the World Cup in 2002 and was tasked with stabilizing the team. His arrival brought a sense of hope and leadership, but results were mixed. Bruce Arena. When I came back, the situation was already tense. We had to find a way to get results quickly, but you could sense the pressure was mounting. There was a lot of blame on the system, on me, and on the players. It wasn't just about winning, it was about regaining trust.
This time around, with the urgency we have in March, as we get close to the end of the month, we're going to be really pushing the group pretty hard and trying to, make the right kind of evaluations necessary in order to get a good look at all our players and try to evaluate who can help us in March. So this is important.
Under Arena, the team had some bright moments, including a 6-0 win over Honduras. But there was still a sense that something wasn't right. The team's inconsistencies were more evident than ever. October 10th, 2017, the final game of the World Cup qualifying campaign. The U.S. needed a draw against Trinidad and Tobago to secure their spot in Russia. But conditions on the field in Cuba were far from ideal. The field was a mess, waterlogged and unfit for play. The U.S. arrived in a must-win situation, but the atmosphere felt off from the start. Michael Bradley, you could sense the nerves in the team. We knew what was on the line, but it was clear that things weren't clicking. We were playing in conditions that weren't ideal, but that can't be an excuse. Trinidad and Tobago stunned the U.S. early in the game. An own goal from defender Omar Gonzalez and a thunderous long-range strike from Alvin Jones put the U.S. behind 2-0. Bruce Arena. We just couldn't recover. The goals we conceded were mistakes, but they weren't just technical errors. It was a lack of mental toughness in a crucial game. Despite attempts to rally, the U.S. fell 2-1. With Panama defeating Costa Rica, the U.S. dropped to 5th in the standings, missing out on a World Cup for the first time in 32 years. The U.S. had failed to qualify for the 2018 World Cup, sending shockwaves through American soccer. The aftermath was nothing short of devastating. For many, this was a wake-up call. The failure was not just about missing the tournament. It was about the gaps that had been allowed to widen in U.S. soccer development. It was a failure of leadership, of strategy, and of preparation. The road to the 2022 World Cup was long and filled with reflection. But as the U.S. made its return to the World Cup stage in Qatar, the lessons from 2017 remained clear. Never take qualification for granted, and never underestimate the power of preparation and unity. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, share it, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting sports stories. Until next time, stay passionate and stay engaged, because every play, every match, and every story counts.